allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today is Tuesday, February 6th, 2024, and the time being 6 p.m. The meeting of the Water Board is called to order. At this time, please silence all electronic devices. To comply with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the city requests participants in the meeting complete a voluntary anonymous survey that is available on the table in the back of the room. Roll call.
Scott Mangles.
Here.
Frank Massey.
Here.
Patrick Kennedy.
Here.
Tony Higginbotham.
Here.
And Ryan Maddox.
Here. Approve of minutes. Mr. Massey, any additions or corrections?
No, sir, I'll look good.
Minutes will stand as presented. Old business, there is none. See, like we have quite a bit of new business. Darren?
Greensburg?
Good evening, Board. Got before you there is this amendment to the PER. PER stands for Preliminary Engineering Report. It's part of SRF program. That is the program that was used to fund your new surface water treatment plant. To kind of give you a little background for some of the newer members. That loan was taken out in 2019 for the construction of the new surface water treatment plant. Majority of the funds were spent for that. However, there were some remaining funds. There's some contingencies built in case there's some overruns, so there's some little extra money. So there's roughly, I think I need to get it updated. Donna gave me the updated number, but it's roughly a little over $900,000 remaining. So the idea behind this is SRF does allow you to amend their PER to kind of request for some additional improvements to utilize and draw down that remaining funds. So that was the purpose of this addendum. We are putting it together. Rick's done a fantastic job soliciting some quotes from vendors on some of the equipment that he wants to see replaced. I'm not going to read through all this. You can read it on your leisure if you want to. Basically, in general, a lot of the control panels associated with the auxiliary facilities, that being Flatrock, Upland, the groundwater treatment plant, and some of the wells as well, and some of the towers. All of that work,
Not guilty.
when we built a new treatment plant, we did a whole new SCADA system at the treatment plant, but we tried to tie in the existing SCADA systems as best we could at the auxiliary plants. Since that, and that's been 2+ years now, some of that equipment has started to fail and become unreliable, and in some cases it's obsolete. They can't even find replacement parts for it. So the idea behind this is to get those auxiliary systems with the new SCADA and controls that match what you currently have at the new treatment plant, so all of them will talk to one another and we'll be able to run and monitor all the different outside facilities as well as what it can do on the inside. So that's generally what it is. There's one other item on there is to replace the filter media in the groundwater treatment plant. For those who are familiar, the new treatment water, our new surface water treatment plant treats surface water. The city also has 5 wells for groundwater, and those are treated at the groundwater plant. That plant was constructed in 2007-08 as part of the improvements done when Honda came to town. So it's starting to get some of the age on it, and one of the things is it's got some media, the filters that need to be replaced. Typically that media lasts somewhere in a 10 to 12, 15-year range, and we're right at that right now. So one of the other items is to go in there and replace that media and clean that out. So those are the main items. I will tell you that based upon the quotes that Rick's gathered so far, the total project cost for everything I've kind of discussed at all the different facilities. I'm gonna give you a range. We've gotten some, we don't know sure which one we'll use, but it ranged from $449,000 to $508,000, which is below what you currently have available, so that should be that's a good position to be. I wouldn't want to be right up at that number, so just wanted to kind of give that to you. The next steps, we still have to get SRF or Indiana Finance Authority's approval. So we will be looking to submit this. It does require the signature of the town's signature on a loan, which is the mayor. So with your blessing, we'll move forward. I'm not necessarily looking for, because I don't think we'll really need approval because we're just going to submit this to SRF. So we'll finish up this draft and get a letter with the mayor's signature and get it submitted to Indiana Finance Authority, and then hopefully they've kind of indicated to us that it's a pretty quick turnaround if the funds are available, and I think we've done a good job identifying what the projects are and they're justifying the need for them. So, any questions? That's a lot of information in a period of time. You're welcome to read through it, but literally I just finished about 2 hours ago, so there's probably a typo someplace. It is a draft. I will make that note.
Do we still have $400,000 or $500,000 to spend available, or to go through the same process again at some point?
It can be, and Donna can she's kind of done a little more of this too. Part of that money is interest, and I think the original actual loan amount's around 600,000, some change. The rest of it is interest. I think it's a little harder to get that interest than it is the actual loan, so I'm kind of happy that we're still below the actual loan amount. So if there's something comes up, I think you can get the interest. It's just probably a few more hoops that I haven't investigated what we'll have to do that.
I investigated, it's just a separate claim form.
Oh, okay.
And doing this updated PER is the first step, so you should be good to go.
So I think there's money available for what we've identified, and hopefully there won't be any issues that once we start into it. There may be, but hopefully they'll be minor. I think Rick's had vendors out to look at it, and they have a pretty good idea what they're doing. And it's always good I like to see when we have two different people give us quotes, and they're very close in range. That's a sign that they're both looking at everything exactly the same way, so that's a good sign.
Darren, I'm new to the board. Is there a time frame on that SRF at all?
There usually is. They want you to spend it in a certain amount of time, but that money's kind of, I'll call it, it's kind of dead money, because SRF can't reuse it. It's actually the cities, they just have to present something to justify the expense, because that money's already been incorporated into your rates and everything that way. So if you don't, it's really kind of a waste if money's not spent, because it's already included into your rates and charges and that sort of thing. So
I just didn't know if there was a time frame that it access to
no,
went out or
they've got this program set aside kind of for something that comes up after the project. We did have to spend, there was a time frame on how long the project took, and usually they have some flexibility in that as well too. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
So, thank you, Darren.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Rick,
Yes, sir. Good evening, board.
good evening.
So, I do, as Darren stated, I do have quotes for the projects that we're going to submit, and this will be contingent on the approval of SRF to use those funds. So, the first one on the agenda is the Flatrock PLC and radio replacement. And that will, and I'm sorry, I apologize, I wasn't listening real close to Darren, I was going through this, and that is getting everything to talk up there, and we're looking at Flatrock, Upland, and the Honda Tower. on cell service. So we will have a small monthly fee. I don't know if he mentioned it in that.
I did not mention that.
Okay, so we're gonna go, that's what we're looking at doing, to get rid of the radios totally, so. And according to, Randy Ferris, with B.O. Anderson, if he remembers correctly, it's like 40 or 50 bucks a month is what we're looking at, so it's minimal. So the first quote, that you'll look at is from B.O. Anderson. And I can go through each line item, but I really don't know what I'm looking at. Gotta take his word for it. This is gonna fix our problem. So the first quote from B.O. Anderson came in at $209,778. If you have any questions on that, I'll try to answer them. The second one I have is from Torque Engineering, and it came in at $227,859. So contingent on the SRF funding being approved, I would like to approve or get the board to approve the bid from B.O. Anderson on the Flatrock project.
Have you worked with either of these companies?
Absolutely. I've actually worked with both of them. B.O. Anderson more. I've dealt with B.O. Anderson since I've been there. I mean, we've been utilizing them for 28 years, so.
B.O. Anderson, they have been around forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, very well known in the water industry. So this motion would be contingent currently on the
Correct.
funding or whatever, then you have to regroup if that doesn't pan out or.
Right. Something has to be done,
Yeah.
obviously, but, you know, this is the, from what I see, this is the best way to do it, so.
Oh, sure.
It seems like we've been talking about this for a while.
We have, and if you guys remember correctly, the last time we actually fixed the Flatrock radio, we had to order it off eBay, so the radios are obsolete.
Well, I make a motion to accept the B.L. Anderson quote, on contingent on SRF funding, I guess, of the project.
Second.
All in favor? Say aye.
Thanks.
All opposed? Motion stands.
Thank you. Next thing on the agenda is the water treatment plant 3 filter media replacement. As Darren stated earlier, that plant was built in 07-08. They recommend 12 to 15 years of the useful life for media, so we're at the end of that. So now's the time to do it, since that plant's gonna be down. Hopefully we'll get the media done first, so we can actually put the plant back in service if we need to. The first quote that I received was from National Water, and I think they came in at, and I do not have a copy of that one for some reason.
15,000.
Yeah.
15,000.
Okay, and the second quote I got was from Baston and Logan, which they were the one that actually built the plant 3. That's probably why they come in cheaper, because they know how to access it, know exactly what's in it and what it takes to replace it. And it came in at $89,160.
Ricky may have said it. How often does the media need to be replaced?
12 to 15 years is what they recommend.
Okay.
Board?
I would make a motion to accept it was a B and, what'd you say it was a B and
Baston Logan.
Bass and Logan quote of $89,160.
Second. Oh.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Say safe. Motion stands.
We're just flying right through this, aren't we? The next thing on the agenda is wellhead protection plan. It's the 5-year update mandated through the state. Every 5 years, we have to go through our wellhead protection plan, update, inventory. Hydrophase, Jim Carr is the one that has been taking care of that for us. I contacted him, he gave me a proposal to do that plan, getting it approved through the state for a price of, I think it was $2,800.
Yeah. Correct.
Yep, $2,800. He knows our plan, he's worked with it in the past, and this is not SRF funded.
Now, Rick, I'm kind of with Scott, fairly new, but the wellhead protection, is that more of a regulatory compliance?
Yes,
Okay.
yep, it's mandated.
I can't believe it's been 5 years.
I know.
That's the first thing.
I think Darren was in on putting the original one together back in the 90s, right?
Not, those weren't fun projects. That happened in a period of time where they wanted you to really advertise where your wells were, and then 9/11 hit and everybody goes, that was a dumb idea to have it out there, so the whole program's changed from when it was originally done, so. Now we just protect them and don't necessarily advertise where they are.
Like, I remember something like that. Well, I make a motion to accept the hydro phase proposal for wellhead protection plan.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion stands.
Next thing on the agenda, you have a copy of the 2023 operations report. Nothing really stands out. You can see we did 130 more locates, a little over 2,500 locates. One thing that you will start noticing in the next few years is the service lines replaced because of lead and copper rule. That's changing. So we went from 35 and 22, we renewed 53 service lines last year, so, and that's gonna continue to go up. One good thing that I will tell the board is that, back in the early 90s, actually it's 92, when the lead and copper rule took effect, that the city of Greensburg, the superintendent at the time, kudos to him, because that's what those guys did for multiple years, was they would put 3 or 4 service lines in at a time. So it really, with our community, it gave us a jump start probably on any other community around. So we did work with Strand to submit our inventory, which has already been submitted to 120 Water, which has not been submitted to the state yet. Once that inventory is submitted to the state, I have 30 days to notify each homeowner that has lead on their line, on their side, to let them know that, hey, this is what, lead exposure can do, to let them know that they really need to do something to get the lines replaced. So not quite sure. I think I'll probably work with Dawn on that, if we can do something with the water bills, or it might be more, something more in depth. But the inventory's been submitted. Once 120 Water submits that to the state, then like I say, I got 30 days to do that. One thing I was gonna tell you, of doing the inventory out of 5,400 services, roughly we only have about right around 400 or 500 we found that actually still has the galvanized lines in the ground. So, and those were ones that slipped by us somehow, because in the past, if we did a meter change out or it was a galvanized line, then we went ahead and put it on the schedule to replace. So it was actually a little more than I anticipated, but it could have been a lot worse.
Thought the water loss thing jumped out with the hydro flushing.
So, yeah, that's where most of
The
your.
rest of it isn't terribly bad, and you
Yeah,
put that in
and
and.
keep in mind, Frank, I mean, these are all estimates, and I'm gonna be honest with you, they're done by me on size. So if it's a 1-inch line, I average, 5,000. And then it kinda depends on, look at the leak we had on Broadway, we drained all 3 towers, plus running, at that point, we probably lost 2.5 million gallons of water, so. Oh, please don't ever let that happen again. That was a rough 2 days. Any questions on the operations report? We'll be next month bringing you the consumer confidence report too, that has to be, put on the website, for all of our customers, or we used to have to mail them to them, which was a real pain, but they changed that too, so. But I'll be bringing that to you next month for your approval, and then I'll get that put on there as well. Next thing on the agenda is the Holland land lease renewal. This lease has, I believe it's 22/12/50 a half, to Ted Holland, that's the Flatrock, land up around the Flatrock River area. I think Holland's, well, they've been leasing it for 28 years that I know of, since I've been here, so. There's a copy of that, and if it's approved, I need everybody's signature.
Can you go a little further in depth with this lease for Scott and I?
So what it is, I think it's roughly total like 140 acres, and there's some crop ground, there's an island out there in the river. Most of it is woods. There is a little bit of farm field on the Richards side, which would be on the south side, that Holland's is leased from the city for years. And I think we probably purchased that however many years ago, because they probably were thinking about backing that river up more for like a reservoir in the future, which is not gonna happen nowadays. I'm assuming that's probably why they purchased all that land up there, but we don't do anything with it now, and they, like I say, they've leased it for a minimum of 28 years. And if Chuck Story was here, he could tell you, how long was he on the board? 35, 40 years, and
The
it's
story-
always been leased to them, so.
The story I always heard was we purchased the land with the idea of building the reservoir up there instead of where it's at Upland. And they did soil borings and found out that the geology would not hold water. That's the reason it never was utilized. That's the story I heard. I can't confirm that it's accurate or not, but it made sense.
I think we went through that before, nobody else really wanted it.
It's not very good ground.
It's not very good, so that's another thing, why we always lease it to them, it's came up a time or two, I think, if I'm mistaken.
If you remember correctly, we were gonna log that because there's quite a bit of timber up there, but once Brian Cruiser got up there and looked at it, there was no way to access it because of the river.
Yeah.
So it was like, what do you do at this point, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the Holland land lease.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion stands.
Thank you. I think you can, that's the original copy, Frank, you can go ahead and start signing it and sending it around if you wish,
No problem.
or you can hang on to it.
I didn't want to interrupt your podium.
So the only thing left is the January MRO. Answer any questions you might have on that, otherwise it's about the same every month, so nothing stands out.
It's a real good thing.
Yes, yes, sir.
Rick, I want to say thank you to you and your team, especially over the last few weeks when we had that cold snap. I'm not sure how many breaks that you and your team had, but I know you guys were out there for a lot of hours and greatly
So-
appreciated.
Those guys had a lot of breaks this year. A lot of them were in Hillcrest. I don't know why. I hate to speculate, but I have caught a few people on hydrants this year. Anytime you get this kind of weather and you get a hydrant that is open too fast or closed, you'll get a water hammer. I'm not saying that was what the issue was. Probably not. But, and I did, I had a talk with at least one of them. I said, you can't be doing this, so. And I think they knew better, but well, they say ignorance is no excuse to the law, so.
True. It seemed like I grew up on 11th Street in Hillcrest, and we always had a leak right there.
Hillcrest has been really bad this year. One thing I will say though is that when you get cast iron, and if you get holes or golf ball holes, and the main is coming towards the end of its life, and a lot of these broken mains we've had has been cracks, which is normal. when a broken main, when it cracks around the main, that's part of it. And a lot of them has been cracked, so. That's all I have.
Thank you, Rick.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Turk.
Mr. Mayor?
You beat me to the first one, to thank Rick's crews. I know that they've been super busy this winter as well. But the other thing is, I have neglected my duties for the last 2 months to come and express appreciation to the board for Robin. So when he stayed over this evening, I wanted to be sure that the board knew that we appreciate that. I know many of you have served alongside him for many, many years. Obviously, you've all met Scott. And we're glad to have him on the board too, and a new chair, and the board is operating completely autonomously without me, which is great to see. Upset because I couldn't manage a calendar for the last 2 months. But glad to be here. Welcome to 2024. We did talk about our utilities division in our State of the City, which was yesterday. If you want to take a look at that, it's on the city's website. We presented that to Rotary. So once again, thanks everybody for being a part of the board, and looking forward to a good year.
Thank you. Board, do you have anything?